I was looking for these the other day, and lo and behold, more ammo. I buried them, and when I went to grab a rag, I said, ah, there they are. These two lights. And do I want these mounts? Yeah, I don't need these mounts. I'm going to use those mounts. Guess what for? Aha. Yeah. The tumbler. Just in case. Just in case. Okay. Now, we need the long bolts to fit through here. Okay. We don't need the nuts and bolts in there. I'm going to put that back in there. And I'm going to put it right here out in the open so I don't bury it or something and forget what I did with it. All right, so anyway, today I had to apologize. Well, I didn't have to, but it was the right thing to do. Yesterday, the new internet company came out to give us the new system. They didn't come out to install the system yet, but they had to run the fiber optic from the pole to the house. And when they were doing it, I was still down. I was laying on the couch, actually, and I'm able to see a little bit about what they're doing on the security cam. The night before that, I was having a bad night because between the pain in my back and my knee and I didn't get to sleep until wee early, and they're knocking on the door wee early. And, you know, at that point, I'm just about ready to tell them, you know, screw off. I don't want it. Leave me alone. You know, come back another day. You know, but you know, I had to kind of sit back and say, you know, well, we're just going to work on the outside. We don't have to get in. Okay, fine. Do what you got to do. Leave me alone. So anyway, I'm watching them occasionally in between snores, and I noticed that my security camera looking out through the driveway, above there's a cable that I've never seen on the camera. It's either the, well, I thought it was them, but it was either the phone cable or the Comcast cable, and it was hanging really low. And they had already left, and I'm looking and I'm saying, I've never seen that cable hanging like that. You know, so is it them, or did they accidentally hit a strain relief on the other cable and it dropped, or what's the story here? And it was low enough to where if I was going to drive through the driveway with the backhoe up, I could have hit it. If I had an antenna on the roof of my van any more than 3 feet, I'd be hitting it. You know, I mean, it's ugly low. So I call him on the phone, and the guy answers. And I tell him, listen, guys, you got to come back and tighten up that cable. Oh, well, we can't go above the power line. I said, no, I understand that. You know, I mean, hello, I used to do this. You know, I said, that cable's hanging. Wait, our cable's the one with the orange tag on it. I said, listen, the cable that I see on my security camera was not there until you guys came out. So either come out and fix it or take it down completely, and I don't need your service. Well, about an hour later, I get a phone call from the supervisor saying, well, I'm going to be out in Branford tomorrow at a meeting. I'll swing by and take a look at it. I go, no. You're either going to swing by and fix it or swing by and take it down. And that was basically the extent of that conversation. And then I sent a text to the company, not the contract company, but the company that hired them to do this, saying that I think we have a problem. Call when you get a chance. Now I know when I put down when you get a chance, I know it's going to take 2 or 3 days, right? You know, but at that point, because I know the guy, so I figured, okay. So at that point, the guy came out today, the manager of the contract company on hanging the cables. And he knocks on the door. He says, I'm checking out your cable. I said, I'll be right out. I'll meet you in the driveway. This was about 10 o'clock, which was a good time. However, it wasn't for me because last night wasn't a good night. So, for more than one reason. So anyway, I put on my house coat and I meet him in the driveway, and he's telling me that the cable that's hanging really low is the phone cable. Well, we don't have a phone anymore. Spam. So at that point, I said, the phone? I said, then why is it that that phone cable is now hanging down in my security camera when it wasn't? Right? He says, it's not even near where our guys were. And I'm looking, now that I know what cable it is, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, you know what? He's right. So I said, you know what? I got to apologize. Sorry. I said, because it was just happened to have been there after your guys were there. So I don't know why, not unless they accidentally bumped the camera a little bit and brought it up, to where it's now partially in focus, which accidents can happen. But if they hung it that low, that was a problem, and that was pissing me off. There's laws on how these wires should be and not be. When they're going over across the road, how high it should be, and just like bridges have to be marked, on how low or how high the footage is, so trucks know how they write laws for everything nowadays. Anyway, I was going to give their guys a copy of that. But at that point, it was a misunderstanding on my part, so I apologized to him, and everything seems to be okay. So he says to me, I would just call up, which I was going to do, call the phone company and tell them, take the line down. You're not using it anymore. And once we get the cable going, you can have the cable line taken down as well. He says, and if you decide down the line you want to get rid of us, call cable back to run a new line, which they should run a new one anyway. Because it's been up there for 12, 14 years. And yes, it's a twisted pair. So now running fiber to the house, and copper can oxidize. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Hello. I mean, that's an extreme, but you guys see when I'm working on wire, when I shred it back, how it's all corroded with green. It just happens. All right, so what I want to do here, I want to use these two lights. On this wireless piece. And then I have a hole for this. So that's going to go outside in the electric box that I put out there, the electrical panel that I put out there to house my coax connectors. And if you want to see that, there's a video someplace out there. Probably maybe 2 years back, maybe. All right. I was working on all the antennas and the addition at the time. So, all right. So anyway, let me get that out of there. We don't want that to short out. The other one I got it working, and I got it charging over here. This one. Now this, believe it or not, sits on top of a light. Now I don't have that part, but it's kind of shaped like an old, like what they used to have down the street on the sidewalks, the old lights, on the poles. I may even have something like that around here someplace. And then it would catch the sun, charge up, and turn on and off. And then the bottom of it comes down, and then it sits on a 2-inch pole, on the walkway, driveway, whatever, and the pole can be as high or as low as you want it to be. Yeah, you can put them lower if you want. You can put it on a foot from the ground, but they're made to be up. Tom has them in the condo development that he's now the president of the committee, because they had 5 or 6 lights that light up the driveway and things as you pull up into it. Basically the same style. And they were starting to short out, and all that cable is underground. So when they called people out to look, is it the fixture that's got to replace or this got to replace? They realize that it's the cable that's underground. And they're talking, a couple $1,000s to run the cable. Then they need to, got to fix a couple of the lights. We don't know what's wrong after that and this and that. So he ended up buying these and putting them on himself because they fit on the same pole. Well, this one stopped working after a while, so he gave it to me yesterday or Monday and said, here, take it, because it doesn't work anymore. All I want, if they're good, are the batteries, because he could use the batteries as a replacement for the other ones. Now, I know what's going to happen. When the other ones go bad, he's going to bring it to here and say, can you replace the batteries? Because he's not going to be able to do that. I know he's not. So, but at that point, that's kind of where we're at. So I put it over there because I had it on semi-charge with this when I was working on it because the sun was coming in over here. And it was okay, but as the day went on and I'm working on it, the light started to go dim. So what I did was I added a new switch. After I went through this thing, I found out that the battery seemed to be okay. That's one of the reasons why I want to get them charged up to see. They should last overnight. So I want to see what they do. The other thing is, when I had this all apart, I realized that the main circuit board in there that ran these and tied all the solar together through the controller, 2 of the main wires were tied together and tack soldered to a very small board and tore the filament off the board. So they weren't connected. I mean, basically it ruined the board. So I tried to repair that and it really didn't work. So what I did was I just traced out the diodes, went to the other side, scratched the board, and put it on a good solid piece of the board. And that started to work somewhat. At least I started to have power coming up. And then I had to take this off because behind this is another board. And that's where I started to find another problem. That had a bad diode and a bad switch. So I was going to replace the switch and bypass the diode. But I don't know what else that switch is actually working. And if I don't put in the exact same switch or the same style with the same throw, I would have, part of it may or may not work. So what I did was I tied on to the on-off part of that switch, and I just added this little toggle switch to it. Now, it's not that this is going to be going back out there to be used. He just wants the batteries on it. So, but this toggle switch works. Now, is it going to work with daylight? Because it has a sensor over here. So that switch should not turn this light on when that's covered. That should turn it on and off. Now, is that diode that's bad in there that I found on the board on this? Because if so, I can't replace it. It's just I don't have the equipment to replace it. I mean, like I said, the diode is about the size of an ant turd, and at that point, I don't have the equipment to do that. And I'm not going to go out and spend the money that it costs to buy that equipment, because I'm not doing it anymore. It's cheaper for me to buy another dozen of these than it is to buy that. So what I'm thinking about, if that doesn't do it, I'm going to tie onto that same switch, and I'm going to put this on there. Now I run this. Now actually, I seen these on Steve Rob's page. He was using them for something. He bought one, I think. Well, I don't know how many, but he bought. I know he had bought one anyway. Blah blah. And he was using it for something, and said, "You know what? That would come in handy for my dog door, because when it gets dark, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have just a little light, not a lot. I mean, like almost nothing, but just a little light to show them where the door is on both inside and out, so that at this point, if they wanted to go through the place at night, which they do, they can run through it and have an idea where the light is or where the door is." So anyway, I put one up, and it works fine. So if worse comes to worse, I can just mount this to the light as well, and I can tie this onto that switch, and again bypass that board, so I don't need to do anything with it. And I can just attach this to here someplace. It doesn't make a difference, as long as it works with the sunlight and the darkness. Now, if I turn this on and put my thumb on this, that's supposed to shut off. Now, is there a timer in there? I didn't see anything that looked like a timing chip. That could be a timer to where, okay, when it gets dark or light, it takes, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever. So apparently that's not working. So that diode is probably part of that. So I will be hooking up that in place of the piece that I have my thumb on, which is that light sensor. And then I can use it. Now the batteries are another story. I don't know how they're going to hold up. I'm going to leave it on. For a while to see how those batteries work. But if I'm going to do that, I just soon do it at night. I'll put it out there in the window and turn it on, because I can check that window with the security cams through the course of the evening. And seeing that the last couple of nights I've been up more than I've been sleeping, it's not a big deal. I gotta find a place to put these. I guess I can put them there. If I put them there, I'm gonna be banging my head on them. Well, maybe not. Yeah, I will. How about if I put them there? Oh, that's worse yet. Okay. I gotta find a place to put these. But for now, I'll put them there. That'll remind me to do it. So now these, what are you going to do? I am going to take them into the solder room, the radio room. I have to get a small, inexpensive solder station for here. They got them out there for like 20, 25 bucks. A little 40, 45 watt station. I don't want the pencil, because that'll drive me nuts. I'll lose it, and then I gotta have to get a holder for it. And by the time I do all that, I can buy the station, which has a variable control for temperature, and it's going to cost the same amount of money. But just haven't had a chance to look, and the other thing is, I'm going to have to wait until after Christmas, because got a lot of other things I got to buy or send gift cards or something like that. All right, let me go over there, put some solder on the end of these. I'll be right back.